Connor, what's up, my man?
Man, just living the dream, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So we're about to reload this Go For Your Win course.
Dude, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, I bet. Man, last one was a surprise how dope it was. I mean, I know the process that I went through to create that work when I first, and I thought it was going to be a book, and I was in isolation and I was going through that process, but I had no fucking clue what it took to actually make a book. It's not just about getting the information out. It's about, if you're writing a book where all you have is the book to explain something, then you just have to approach it a different way. Like the content, I just put all the content out there straight, and then eventually realized like, oh shit, like I need to explain this, which is why that became a course. And then we had this course, but I don't think either of us really had any idea how impactful it would be to have this in course format, because it's 35,000 words, which is, way shorter than the book. Own the Day is 100,000 words. But, I think there was a lot of surprises, at least for me, and I'm sure for you.
Absolutely.
When we put this thing out.
Well, we put it out and it was, I had just come on working with you mostly as a project manager at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And we look at this thing, and I had had a lot of experience coaching individuals for the past 7 or 8 years, and strength and conditioning mostly, which was kind of an excuse to help people live a better life. So I'd been exposed to that in some way, but when we put it out there and saw the response, I was extremely surprised. I mean, I knew the content was good, and I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I got it early and went through the whole course and did the practices and did the work, and I knew it had legs.
Yeah.
When we put it out there and saw the community, and we added the connection to it as well, and then going in there and jumping into Facebook Lives and creating engagement, it really blew me away.
Yeah, I think that was, one of those big pieces is that, it's the accountability of the community. It's the helpfulness of the community. I mean, right off the drop, people were introducing themselves in that Facebook group and just ripping themselves wide open and being like, hey, here's all the shit going on with me. And people were like, oh man, that's so brave. And then that would inspire more and more people. And now, still, even though it's been a while since we re-released this course, the group is still active and it's still like supportive of each other. And, just imagining how this thing is going to grow and just be a true digital community of people looking to level up their life, to chase their dreams, to play it big. I mean, it's just dope seeing what this thing is becoming.
Well, and watching everyone show up to appreciate and acknowledge someone else's vulnerability. And that's what we don't get to do a lot in life. We kind of spend our time hidden behind walls and projecting ourselves in a way that we need to be, that we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to be accepted, versus jumping in there and showing what we have and kind of showing our cards and being prepared to hold space for one another in that way. And that's one of the strongest parts about a tribe or a community, is the ability to hold space for someone who is in their most vulnerable state and show up for them in a way. And having a framework behind that in the way that the course does and the community engagement around that, I mean, those are two vital human needs in being vulnerable and feeling connected that we just don't have as much access to as we used to.
Yeah. So the course in a way provides like a backbone of discussion points where, all right, you want to talk about you're not happy with your job. Well, here's the ways to find your mission and choose your profession and talk about your connections and your passions and your vibration. And like, there's all these tools that people can work with. And then there's the people who can help utilize those tools. And then there's community. And of course, there's yourself as a moderator and a coach, and myself as people who can come in with our perspective and really help work people through based on the experiences we've had working with people, our own life experiences, plus the course material, plus the books and other podcasts and everything we've consumed. And so it's this kind of self-supporting system with some real directed help with it as well. And it's been dramatic for people, man. I mean, people who've gone through this course, they're like, they've shifted.
Yeah, there was a huge shift, and they shifted together, man. And having that in-person mastermind at the end of that whole thing to wrap it up was just, it was almost overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
I remember sitting in front, we were sitting and talking and having a little panel discussion, and I was just overwhelmed with gratitude. It was like forced empathy of just a wave of gratitude. And it was so inspiring to see that and to be able to guide it online and then have the in-person engagement at the end as well it was so palatable. I loved it.
Yeah. And I think just being able to experientially practice some of the skills that they had read about, right? Like, that people go through that section, which is all about training the essential skills. And you go through that section and you get to practice some of them, like choice and some of the ones like belief, some of those you get to practice a little bit on your own. But, it's super hard to practice ecstatic dance on your own. Like
I don't know, man. I've definitely plugged in some Taylor Swift and practiced ecstatic dance on my own.
You would have.
You ever had a bad day? Just throw on some Taylor Swift and dance by yourself, and you can't be unhappy. It's impossible.
I mean, I don't know if that's 100% true, but
we're gonna add that to the course.
For you, that works. The Taylor Swift module.
Yeah, man.
I think if you're Kanye, probably that doesn't make you too happy.
I don't know, dude.
Maybe that's why he was mad.
Maybe he's just ashamed of himself. We got to release shame.
But yeah, so you read that and then you actually get to practice it with people who you've been talking to and relationships that have already formed. So that's definitely a cool element to be able to bring that all together, but ultimately not essential. I mean, we had a couple hundred people who went through the course and only a portion of those came in person. And I think just hearing the stories from everybody across that, I mean, the involvement, whether you're able to make it to one of the masterminds or whether you're just consuming the material, it's been cool. It's interesting for me, because if you write a book, and I've kind of struggled with this a little bit, like if you write a book, it's going to reach more people. And I thought about in between releasing this first course and then re-releasing it as a course, I had the debate of, well, should I make this another book? Because in that case, it's going to reach the widest number of people. It'll be pretty cheap to consume. I'll have to flush in another 70,000 words of explanation and setup and examples and, more things to kind of really allow the reader to kind of on-ramp into this somewhat dense course material, because I won't be able to coach people. You won't be able to coach people through it. They won't have a community around it. And I thought about that, and I was like, well, yeah, it'd be cool for this to reach more people. But then I thought about how significant the smaller group of people was, when they consumed it. So it's this kind of thing, like having it as the backbone of this community. Maybe it's not going to reach as many people, but the people that it impacts are going to be more significantly impacted. Exactly. And so, and with the hands-on approach, the ability to kind of jump in there and add our own efforts. And, I just recorded like the audio version with a bunch of commentary and stuff, which was cool. And I think that's definitely the right choice. It certainly feels right, because I will always write books and I'll make posts that you can consume for cheap or free. But having this, my very first effort of compiling all the wisdom I'd compiled in my life to date, and having that as a course is it's a special thing. So I'm glad that it ended up staying that way.
Yeah, and I think it's a really one great thing to recognize is that with the different options with the course, right? You have the course, then you have the small group training, and then the in-person events. You get a chance to meet everybody where they're at, which is so powerful. And then with Own the Day coming out as well, you're essentially taking like a 4-pronged approach to engagement and personal development. And to kind of piggyback off of that, one of the best parts about the course model is that we can engage with someone and, like I said, meet them where they're at. Because somebody may need a different tool at a different time that someone else has context on or somebody else has reflected on already. And the context is extremely powerful. The context in that big of a group, and then having people like me and you in there to kind of guide through that have seen that the reason that people like Mark Manson are doing so well is because people are hungry for bullshit-free personal development. Right. Because go Google how to make more money right now and sort through that nonsense. Yeah, it's going to be a mess, right? You're going to have articles on articles.
How to pretty much anything.
How to anything, right? You're going to get 47 BuzzFeed articles.
Unless it's like something really technical, like how to change out the oil pan in my 67 Ford Mustang or something like that. You're like, if you probably get a really good answer when you get really granular like that, because then like there's some motherfucker who knows how to do that super good. It's like, listen,
he's got a whole YouTube channel
because you got to fucking move this thing and you got to push out the oil pan. Like there's that guy, you know, and you're good on Google and that. But if it's something general like, how do I heal trauma, or how do I find fulfillment in my life?
How do I meditate?
Yeah, like fucking good luck.
Yeah, and having somebody who's kind of been through there and sorted through it, it can give you maybe 2 or 3 examples versus 30,000 that you can then take action on. Because at the end of the day, we end up kind of getting caught up in our heads and not able to take a step or take action on something. And once you start moving, then you can make adjustments, but you've got to get moving. You can't turn or direct yourself anywhere if you're not moving. You're just going to spin around in circles.
Yeah, I mean, really, the course is like a lifetime of curation.
Exactly.
I mean, some of the ideas are original, but a lot of the ideas are just curated from all of the people I've spoken to, the stories I've, been told, the experiences that I've been a part of. Like, all of that has ultimately created, what this thing is. It's a curation project as much as anything. So, that's something that you can't really find on your own just by Googling. It's like, at a certain point, too much information becomes no information at all.
Exactly.
It's like, noise. I just can't even figure this out. So I think that is definitely one of the services that something that's as broad as this provides. Because if we're going to cover meditation, yoga, floating, your mission, how to overcome resistance, like, you better be curating the most effective parts of that. And, hopefully people will continue to find that that's what we did.
Exactly. And I think one of the best parts about this course and having the engagement that we talk about is that you can implement them in your day-to-day life. Like, you can anchor in some intention and take that to work that day and see a result that day. And have some success within that week, share that success with people that actually give a fuck and have a response from that. And it's tremendously important because that's one thing that we kind of end up getting, like, geographically caught a lot of times. Like, you live in a small town in West Virginia, like, you just don't have a community around you that supports you in the way, and you kind of feel alone, you kind of feel trapped. And that's the power of that's the light side of social media, is that we can have a community together, and that can be your refuge for growth and development and reflection and gaining context on how to live a full life. And that's really all we want, man. We want connection. We want to feel secure in being vulnerable and have a safe place to reflect on ourselves, because at the end of the day, the answers are inside you. And sometimes you just got to see a reflection to get there. Yeah. But you become immune to them because they've been a part of you the whole time. Yeah,
but if every time you look for a reflection, the reflection calls you a fucking pussy, you're probably not going to be that comfortable looking in there. So that's where that community really is helpful. What are some of the things, like, if you're going to talk about, like, some of the main sticking points from the people that you've dealt with as part of this course and part of your, kind of coaching program in general, like, where do the sticking points kind of lie for people?
So a lot of it came down to just simply what I call running in circles, right? You're on a hamster wheel of bullshit where you have all the best intentions, and you've kind of reached a point in life where you're looking around saying, there's more to it than this. Like, there's more here. And it takes a little bit some self-awareness, just opening the door of self-awareness and exploring yourself, understanding what affects you in what ways, like what fuels you, what drains you, and how you can approach those differently. But once you have a little bit of awareness around those, just gaining that, to me, is a big step one. And that's actually step one on the small group coaching program as well, is just generating awareness around the way your state changes throughout the day, living your normal life. And then you can adjust. But that seems to be the big sticking point for a lot of people, is just understanding how to go about doing that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, awareness is, no matter what it is, it's the first key. If it's controlling your emotions, we have a lot of strategies in there, but before you can employ any of the strategies, like the strategies that the Siberian mystics use to play with their emotions, or the Don Miguel Ruiz strategies of how to halt the emotions, before they get out of control, you have to have awareness first. You have to have awareness of when emotion is blinding you with its own bias and its own perceptual, limitations, because emotions will cause you to see the world in a certain different way. And if you're not able to have awareness and say, oh, look, the Aubrey is being super emotional, which is another one of the strategies. but first you have to have that awareness, no matter which one of these things it is. And I think understanding all of these processes ultimately helps drive that awareness. Even if you're learning about a skill about how to fix it, the idea that you can fix it might make you more aware of when it's happening. And that's probably the most essential first step.
And once you're aware of something, then you can start to have compassion for that pattern, right? You can say, well, where did that come from? I can track that feeling down. Let me track it down to the root and see where does that really generate it from? And then once you see, oh, that's just a scared 8-year-old kid inside of me. Yeah. And I can just look that kid in the eye and give him some love, give him some compassion, and say, hey man, we can move on now. It's time to go. Yeah. And that, once you can track that down, it's extremely liberating. Yeah. But again, it takes awareness, and then developing a compassion practice and understanding it's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
It's going to be okay.
Seriously, it's going to be okay.
And getting rid of the word should. Like, you should be this and you should be that.
Right.
You created your identity out of expectations outside of yourself. Because at the end of the day, and this becomes challenging, and this is why compassion is so important, is because one of the scariest things you're ever going to see in your life is yourself. yourself and your shadow and your light and all the good and bad, but developing that compassion practice and comparing it.
Well, I
developing
think it is
awareness
the single biggest fear that we have is a true reflection of who we are. Not only, it's not necessarily even our faults, it's how powerful we are. Like that is the thing that I find that people are most terrified of, is like what they're possibly capable of. And it plays into the self-judgment, because if you acknowledge how powerful you are, and then you have to take ownership of where you are in your life, and you have to say, oh, it is my fault.
Yeah.
And the moment you say it is my fault, that self-judge comes in and says, oh, you lazy, worthless, dumb piece of shit. You should have been farther along the path. So it's this self-fulfilling vicious cycle of judgment preventing you from acknowledging how powerful you are, and, you know, fueling that whole pathway. Whereas if you can remove the judgment, then you're more comfortable accepting how powerful you are, and then you're more able to actually affect your life in a positive way. So, you know, dealing with the judge is a big part of this course, and a big part of everything that I do, working with everyone from athletes to individuals to everybody.
Exactly. There's a reason that's there. There's a reason that's a part of you, but it's a great servant, shitty master, you know?
You know what I was thinking? I had a recent kind of philosophical insight. I was like, why did we develop the ego? Like, you see all animals, and animals are super connected to source, if you want, or connected to the earth, connected to life. Like, they have a certain balance. They don't have that self-awareness. And this goes back to that Garden of Eden story, you know, devouring the fruit and the knowledge of good and evil. It's creating the awareness where we have that different perspective to view ourselves, which is, you know, the ego and the superego, if you want to use Freudian terms. But like, why and how did that develop? And I was thinking about it, and I was like, what is the real purpose of the ego? How is it helpful? Because like the animal, but people say, well, it keeps you safe. Yeah, kind of, but animals are super good at keeping safe, probably more good, because there's just their body and their instincts are like super dialed in. They'll sense something and be like, fucking out of here. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, way more sensitive to it. So it's not like to keep us safe from physical danger. But I was thinking about it, and it was like, oh, this is about mating advantage. Mm-hmm. Like, the ego is about mating advantage in a social hierarchy, in a social structure. Because if you can manipulate like who you are and put out like, oh, if I shift myself this way, I can have a slight mating advantage. Over time, you're going to get selected for a bigger and bigger ego, more and more capacity to be able to present yourself as something you're not for mating advantage.
Yeah, which will get you laid often. More often than being super vulnerable and transparent, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, it is.
It may not have lasting relationships,
right?
But yeah, evolutionarily.
Right. And I was like, and it's not, I mean, it's, but then at the other point, it can also get super out of hand. I think we're already in this kind of counter movement to that, where people are like sniffing that shit out a little bit easier. And, you know, you might catch some people who are really naive, but the ones that you really want to catch are, you know, they can kind of smell that bullshit out, you know? So like, if you do the actual work, you're going to be way better off in the long run. But yeah, I mean, if your goal, and that's what, you know, biology wasn't selecting for quality of mate, it was selecting for quantity of mate.
Exactly.
So you're going to catch the lowest common denominator if you can be some suave bullshit, you know, version that might be able to con somebody into sleeping with you. You know, I was like, I think that's really where a lot of this ego developed, because it's a disadvantage in most things other than certain kind of zero-sum social interactions where it comes to mating advantage and maybe wealth distribution.
Yeah, I mean, in the hierarchical way of looking at life is also very strange too, if you think about that. Like, we constructed that, and chimpanzees do it too, monkeys do it too.
Yeah.
They have a different approach, but they will manipulate each other, and it became leverage at a point, you know?
Yeah.
Being able to create that for yourself.
Yeah, but then it's in doing so, we've created our greatest source of suffering.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember one of the most impactful moments during an ayahuasca ceremony that I've ever had. And I've had a lot of impactful moments in an ayahuasca ceremony. For those of you who don't know what ayahuasca is, it's a very powerful traditional psychedelic brew from South America. You probably haven't listened to many of my podcasts if you needed that explanation.
You're not cool if you don't know what ayahuasca is, bro.
That's not true. You're cool anyways. but anyway, so I'm blasted on this DMT containing compound, and I felt myself transforming into a triceratops. And that's one of those,
Awesome.
that's a dinosaur with the big kind of plate neck piece, and like the big, like a rhino with a giant plate behind his head. And
It's
a spiked
Sarah
tail.
from Land Before Time.
Yeah, Sarah from
The
Land
three
Before
horn.
Time. Triceratops, Sarah. The interesting part wasn't the fact that I had a fucking plate on my head or horns on my head or like hooved feet or I was a dinosaur. That wasn't what was really compelling to me. What was compelling to me is how my heart felt. Like I felt my heart in a way that it was alive and like connected to all of nature around me and connected to everything around me. Like so much of the anxiety that you carry like is this form of separation from life itself. Like it just removes you from this feeling of being connected to all. And even as a dinosaur, I felt more alive than I've ever felt. I felt more alive than I've ever felt as a human, except in maybe the rarest circumstances of like just perfect connection and love and like, you know, super rare to feel that, but to just be there. And I was like on all fours, my hands were down and I felt like hoofs, but it was just my heart just wide open and just beating and connected to everything. I was like, oh man, this is what it must feel like to be a fucking animal. Like how rad, like the mind is not interfering with this wide open heart connection to all of life around you. I was like, fucking dope. And then I let out some dinosaur sounds and it got weird in the ceremony. But yeah, that was a really compelling state. And I think a lot of like why we create a course like this, because the mind is a beast. The mind will tie us up into little knots and little circles. And if we don't untie those circles, we'll create a hell where we don't feel any of that heart connection and we don't feel any of that love or passion or compassion or anything while we live.
Yeah, and one thing the course does a great job of is helps you gain some objectivity on yourself. You know, when you can see, I mean, we're in an energetic exchange with everything around us, all the life that's around us, and that's often overlooked. And when we have a little bit of objectivity and, again, self-awareness, we can start creating an environment in our life that facilitates. And that's where we come down to creating and taking ownership of your own reality, right? You start to create an environment around yourself that is conducive to the journey that you would like to be on. But if you don't know what that journey is, if you don't know what your win is, then it's really hard to create the roadmap to get there.
Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday. We were talking about the law of attraction and how everybody pretends like it's all fucking magic. And they actually literally came out with something worldwide bestseller called The Secret. Secret?
That's the only book I've ever, or the only audiobook that I've ever stopped. I was like, I'm consciously done with this shit.
The Secret. So wait, let me get this right. You're telling me if I know where I'm going, I'm more likely to get there. Like that's a fucking secret? It's called a map, son. It's called fucking Google Maps. Like you want to get somewhere? Oh, fucking know where you're going first. Like that's all they're basically saying. They're saying it's saying is, you know, the law of attraction. Imagine where you want to be. Imagine where you want to go. Oh yeah, no shit. That's gonna help me get
exactly.
there.
It's like envision where you would like to be. Like what would fill your life up, and then work backwards from there. Create some action steps, and now you've then in your imagination seen the things that you will need to encounter, experience, and the opportunities you need to take to get there.
Yeah.
And then now you know what they look like.
Yeah,
cool.
It's
now
like
you can
saying,
see them.
oh, I got to go somewhere. And you're like, where do you want to go? I don't know. And then they're like, I have a secret for you. What if you decided what city you wanted to go to? And they're like, whoa, okay, I want to go to Dallas. And you're like, aha, the secret is in effect. Now head north from Austin.
Well, but the problem is that we end up like trying to get your girlfriend to pick a place to go eat. You end up in that situation. That's how you live your whole life. Yeah. Like, where do you want to go? I don't really know. We had Thai food last week, and I just really I don't know. But then this, it's like that's not.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the whole first section of this thing, right? It's
is,
just like saying, picking your state that you want to get to. Like, what does your win look like? What is your Dallas?
Yeah,
like where are you fucking trying?
Mine
to
is not Dallas.
Yours is not. Your Dallas is not Dallas.
Just not Dallas.
Yeah.
But yeah, and once you can feel it, and that's the better you get, the more aware you get, the more compassion you can show for yourself, the more fully you can bring yourself to that vision, the more you can feel it, the more you can see it, and the easier it becomes to create a life that is in alignment with attaining that state.
Yeah.
It's beautiful, man.
100%. What do you think is the most challenging, if you were to look at the breadth of this course, what is the most challenging lesson of this course for you?
For me, anchor and belief.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then you belief doesn't have limits, right? I mean, there was a part of me that, I mean, shit, dude, a year ago, thinking that I'd be doing this right now, like, I think there was an idea that it could happen, but I don't know if I could say it was belief, right? So creating a firm understanding of the belief has always been a challenge for me, because how big can it get? I came from such a small place and was made, that's a big transition I've had in the past 2 years of my life, where I was always, not always, but a lot of my life I was made to feel small. Like, I was physically big, so that confused people, but inside I was tiny. And I remember a friend of mine, we were out dancing. I was probably 22 or something. He's like, "Motherfucker, just be big. You're big, dude. Just be big." And I remember that was like one of my first mantras. Just be big. And when I started to see that and get around people and create an environment around myself where I got to see what success looked like, it started to change and shift, and belief started to become this kind of this animal that I could tame. And I started to see that only difference between me and these people that I aspired to be like was work and belief. That was it. And it became a little bit more real. But that's been the constant struggle for me, is how big do I want to play, And I mean, when I say play, I mean play.
I know. It's all play.
Yeah. How about you, man? What was your big? I mean, you wrote the thing.
Yeah, if I look back at this last year, I mean, I've had a lot of things that have challenged touched a lot of areas of this, like attachment to identity. Like I had a straight identity assassination attempt. And we don't need to go into the fucking details, but like someone completely fabricated the most damaging story they could possibly create out of the blue, unprovoked, and came at me with it. And like that was a moment where it was like, oh, this is a straight up identity assassination attempt, by a fucking crazy person. And having to react with that and then surrender to the fallibility of my identity and realize that it is just a sandcastle, that, while this assassination attempt ultimately failed and the guy pulled down all his social media and got fucking laughed back into a hole where he came from, the fact that that's always possible. Like, your identity isn't something that's solid, at least your public identity, or even your, to some extent, the identity that you think about yourself. What I'm talking about now is your reputation, your public identity. So any attachment that I had to that, it was a real opportunity for me to work on that and just be like, all right, you know what? Like, I'm okay without it. I'll survive no matter what. The people who know me. The people who love me. And that's all I can really control, is who I am and how I serve.
Yeah. And
the rest is just out of my control, so why even worry about it? And that was a really strong moment for me. I think, and then consistent work around the different masks of fear, stress, and anxiety. Mm-hmm. Because there's always something that could, screw up the business or take us down a detour, or, some challenge that we're facing. And if I take all of those challenges and feel in my body the stress and anxiety of like, oh my God, this could be the end, which is what I did for the first 6 years building on it. If I keep doing that, like, it's just going to prevent me from enjoying it. Yeah. That's constant. People ask me, what do I regret the most? I regret not having more faith. Like, it's always worked out. I've always figured it out. Everything hasn't turned to shit yet, but nonetheless, every new challenge ahead, despite my, 10,000 record of either overcoming or learning from it, I still look to the next challenge with stress and anxiety. And some people say, oh, some people just accept that as par for the course. And I think I did too. Like, well, I'm running a big company. Of course I'm stressed. Everybody I know is stressed. Mm-hmm. But I can't really enjoy myself and be that stressed. It's not fucking possible. And then I started to see models of people like Paul Chek, who were holding a lot of space and holding a lot of energy in an organization and doing it without stress. And I'm like, oh, that motherfucker can do it. It's not necessary. Like, I can be better. I can enjoy this whole process. And part of that is releasing attachment, releasing expectation. But part of it is just dealing with fear.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it comes down to understanding your values too. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I definitely get there, and launching the podcast that I launched in 2017 and doing these things, like, it gets challenging, but something that Jordan Peterson says that I really think was beautiful is you get to choose your sacrifices in this life. You get to choose the things you give up. You want to be the CEO of a company, guess what? You're going to get stressed out sometimes. Like you're sacrificing the not being stressed constantly. You can go live on a beach and surf and have a good time and live in a van and probably just be chill with that. But is that you fulfilling your mission? Is that your win? That's somebody else's win probably. Mm-hmm. And you get to choose your sacrifices in life. And that really meant a lot to me. Like it was fun because I'm in the same place of developing these things, and things get super stressful, and then I get stressed because I'm stressed, and I'm in that on the hamster wheel of bullshit, right? But it's incredible when you say, well, what's my currency? Like what is the world showing me when I'm adding value, and can I keep score with those measures? Like am I impacting people's lives more than I ever have in my life? Yes. Am I on purpose? Yes. Will the other stuff come? Maybe, but I don't have the energy to give that many fucks about that. What I can give fucks about is where I'm going, the path I'm on, and that I'm serving in the way that makes sense, that makes my entire life make sense. And when you're doing that, man, that is complete liberation. That's the only word I can ever really think about. Like ownership is liberation.
There's so much freedom in just relinquishing yourself just to the process.
Yeah.
All I'm responsible for is the process. Like if you woke up every day and you said, maybe you took Jason Pfeiffer's "I'm not fucking around," and then you added, all I'm responsible for is the process. All I'm responsible for is the process. All I'm responsible for is the process. Like you're free as fuck. Because then you just release yourself of all the expectations. Just like, all right, what's the process? What's the very next step that I can take? And then as long as you're focusing on that and you did that, then you don't have to worry about whether it succeeds or whether it fails or whatever. It's just, you're just focused on the process and you're giving it your best. And I think that's what Don Miguel means in his agreement, do your best. And it's just focusing on the process. Like, what's the best I can do right now?
Yeah.
Not more than the best you can do. Not burning yourself up all night, staying up till 4 a.m., trying to do every outcome. That's not your best because you're borrowing from tomorrow's best today. And that's not going to work. It's not sustainable. So finding that middle ground of balance that's supporting yourself and just relying on the freedom that comes from just focusing on the very next thing ahead.
And when you bring that version of yourself to the world too, like you're going to get the most out of it. You're going to get the most out of every second that you live.
Yeah.
When you bring a liberated and full version of yourself to the world. But we didn't do ourselves any favors setting up the system. So we got to take ownership of our own lives now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure. I think another, a big one for me is, finding ways to love people. Like if I love people, then I'm just so much happier. Like the world, I'm so much more inspired to help people. I'm so much more inspired for my mission. And it can be something simple, like it's just where we shine the flashlight of our perception. If we're constantly looking at the shit, if we're looking at the negative comments that are found online, if we're watching the news at all the shitty things going on and people arguing unconsciously about each other, then our view of the world is going to be like, man, this world's fucked.
Yeah.
Or we shine the flashlight of our perception on a documentary, one that we both saw, like Given the movie, right?
I love that thing
we
so
shine
much.
our perception on that, and you're like, God, humans are fucking amazing. Like I love people. Look at these people. It's like this amazing story of this professional surfer and his professional surfer wife, and they are raising kids and traveling the world, and he grew up in Fiji in the traditional Fijian way, and they make their house, and he's going spearfishing, and the kid's narrating it, and you're just like,
his 5-year-old son narrates the whole thing. And
fucking people are awesome. And then like that makes a huge impact, because then it's like, oh fuck yeah, we gotta save the world, because the world is
people are awesome.
Yeah, but if you look at that orange fucker in office and just watch him being crazy and watching everybody else be crazy around him, you're like, man, fuck it. we are like, what else is there out there?
The sample size for assholes is really small, and if you bring awareness to yourself in the way, if you treat every human interaction in your life like a human interaction and not some passive experience, you'll see the goodness in people. Mm-hmm. Just be attuned to what's going on around you, and that is so motivating. Like just treating the barista like she's a person and not an order taker.
Yeah.
And that in itself, you'll probably get free coffee too. It works for me, right? Life hack: be nice to baristas and you'll get free coffee. But no, or the waitress or anybody else, right? Anybody that's around you, especially someone that really has no way to serve you. And you'll start to pick up little nuggets of just how great human life is. all around you. When someone tells you how awesome their day is and really means it and they're really engaged with you, you run off the energy. Again, energetic exchange. It's all around us. And you can take that in, and that becomes that's fuel for the soul, man.
Yeah, I mean, that mirror neuron effect is fucking strong. You know, when you're putting out a strong positive vibe, like other people are scientifically going to pick that up.
Yeah.
You know, like this is proven that there's neurons that mirror the emotional state of the people that you're connected to. So if you do nothing else, getting yourself in order is going to positively impact the world, because every single person that you encounter is going to feel it. You know, so that's huge.
Absolutely, man. And it's, when you sort yourself out, and that's the thing, dude. You want to be confident in the decisions that you're making. And again, it comes down to releasing attachment of the results and being fully present, feeling aligned, and where you get to start constructing the resistance in front of you that you're choosing. Like the world's always going to throw you challenges, and the better you get, the bigger the challenges are. But just taking ownership and bringing that version of yourself in a big, happy, like good vibe to the world will give you the power to run through and develop yourself through the resistance that you choose and a life that you choose on your mission. It's no one else's, and that's crazy. It's so fun.
What a great grand game to have available to us. You know, man, it's like I've spent my time in the dark night, and I know you have too. And when you're in the dark night, it's like, how will I ever get out back into the light? Like, it seems like an impossible labyrinth that you're going to be stuck in forever. Yeah. But really, you're already out. You know, like you're already out of the labyrinth. All you have to do is shift your perspective out from that self that's identifying and seeing and agreeing with the state of mind that you're in, and shift to that other state and be like, oh shit. You know, like, I'm already out. I'm already in the kingdom of heaven, if you want to use that biblical analogy. Like, it's here right now, motherfucker. I get to choose whatever I want to do. And maybe there's more challenges ahead of me than usual. Cool. That just means it's like being under the squat bar under a heavy load. Yep. And you're like, oh, the load's heavy today. I'm going to have to fucking use my muscles a little bit more. That's cool, because I'll be wicked strong the next time. I'll have a bigger butt because of it, you know. But people don't look at the challenges that come and affect our psyche like that when they should. It's just like, oh, the squat bar's loaded a little bit more today. Instead, they're like, oh, fuck my life, the squat bar's loaded. Like, if you say that in the gym,
put more weight on the bar. Asshole.
Yeah, exactly. No, you realize, because it's very tangible and it's very quick, okay, more weight. That means more load. That means I'm going to get stronger. You know, I might be a little sore for a while. I'll need to recover. That's cool. But ultimately, it's going to make me strong. It's the fucking same thing. Yeah. Same thing with your emotions, same thing with your mind, same thing with your psyche. Like, cool, you got a big load. Awesome. You're going to be wicked strong when you're done with that load.
Yeah. I mean, that's funny. So speaking of, keeping going with the barbell analogy.
Yeah, please. I knew you'd jump on that.
There was a time, and this is talking about manifesting things into your life, right? Like, I ran my mouth for probably a year back when I was competing in strength and conditioning sport. So I competed in strongman, CrossFit, and weightlifting. I'd always ran my mouth and said, I was like, I could deadlift 600 pounds. It's just a way things get manifested into your life. Like, you never done it. I was like, yeah, but I put in the work, though. I know it's there. I was like, if I need to do it, I'll do it. I was at a strongman event, and it goes, the weights go on the deadlift, and this is the 7th event of the day. So I'd already pulled the truck and did the whole thing and all that stuff, and I really revere strength and conditioning, because it's where I applied. It was my first step into applying the practices that I had started to learn in life, and that's breath work, meditation, mindfulness. And I remember the weights went from 450 to 520, 575 to 605, or 602, excuse me. Don't want to give myself too much credit.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I've been talking about this for a year. So I go to this bar, 602 pounds, and was like, it's time to do it. It's time to do the thing. And pull 600 pounds. And it was one of those things where I had put in every moment of work into that moment of, I knew I'd never get 700 pounds. I knew that was the end of a journey for me. It was very strange. So I'd called that into my life.
Yeah.
And to piggyback this into the course, when you start doing the work and you have confidence that whenever that big challenge comes up, whenever the world wants to give it to you, you're fucking ready. Yeah. You're ready for it. And you just get to apply it in every little day. Just every day in the gym, every day in the office, every day with your spouse, with your kids, with your friends, at the bar, wherever you're at, every one of those is another rep, another step, another movement down the path. Mm-hmm. And when those challenges come your way, you're ready.
Yeah.
Ready? And that, again, liberation.
Did you fucking pull the 602?
Oh, yeah. Dude, that's
You fucking left people hanging with that story.
Yeah, I nailed it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny. I was narrating the course. I pulled a few different quotes out, and I pulled out this one quote that's from the course. It says, "The journey of 1,000 miles begins not with a step, but when you stop making fucking excuses." I was like, damn, Mom, you're fucking harsh.
I love when you go back and read your writing.
Yeah.
Like, damn, dude, that was
savage.
serious.
But yeah, man, I mean, that's the case. I mean, you could have gone up to, you can always go up to a bar that's loaded like that and be like, oh, I'm tired, I'm blah, 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 and come up with a million excuses why.
Yeah.
But, and life's not as obviously tangible as a certain amount of weight, but, you can always come up with excuses why it's too much for you and why whatever, or you can just go pull your best, and if you die in battle, like, you die in battle.
That's it.
Like I remember I used to watch some of like the impromptu kind of strength challenges at the Muscle Beach out in Venice. And I remember one really clearly, like some guy had clearly gone past the other guy's limit, and the other guy was like, "You got me, man." And he's like, "Bullshit, you die in battle, son. You die in battle." Like wanted to see him fail on the rep and was just calling him like, "It's not how it goes. You got to die in battle, son." And he's like, "No, man, I can't get it." He's like, no fucking when you're not getting out of it, you die in battle, son. And so the guy like puts all the weight on and just gives it hell, and it just crushes him. And the other guy's like, "That's right."
Yeah, but you know what it feels like now.
Yeah,
you got a little context
exactly. And it was like part of the honor of that, whatever that it looked like an OG and like a new challenge. That was the context of that thing. But that's the same with life. Like, die in battle. Don't just die on the sidelines and not knowing, like, go out there, give it your best, and if you can't pull it, you can't pull it.
Yeah. But it's there.
It's there, and then you'll come back and you'll do the practices you need to practice, and then you'll give it another go.
Yeah. And if you find a way to smile through all that, it makes it all the better.
You have to smile through all that because everything is that. The whole thing is that. Guess what? It's not going to stop. You think the challenges are going to stop? Oh, really? That's cute. The challenges are all going to stop. Yeah, everything's going to be all fucking good. Bullshit. Challenges aren't going to be all good. If you're young and you haven't had kids yet, and you think challenges are going to stop soon, you got fucking kids. And then after kids, you got all, like, no matter what it is, it's going to be some different thing. Maybe you solve your career thing and have a little bit of money. Then you have fucking children. And then your fucking children have this shit. And then you're going into this middle age. And then there's people around you who are getting sick. And you got to deal with that. And, like, there's always going to be fucking challenges.
Dude, I had a girlfriend once upon a time. And something came up. And she goes, so we were kind of getting into it about some stuff. And I said, dude, don't worry, we'll figure it out. We'll figure this out. But I have faith in that, right? That I'm pretty good at figuring it out. No matter what happens, like, I know I'm going to find a way to be happy in this. And she goes, I don't want to always be figuring it out. I go, you don't have a fucking choice. It's called being a human. Like, what do you think is going to make you you're going to get to a place where you don't have to figure it out anymore? Like, even if you beat Mario, then you pick up Zelda. It's like you just go to the next thing.
Totally.
It doesn't matter what it is, but that's
people
the
will
fun.
get focused on the wrong game. They'll think like the money game is the only game. Yeah. Like, guess what? People with money can be as fucked up or more fucked up than anybody else. Like, money it's a very simple rule set to the game. So it's actually sometimes easier to figure out that puzzle than it is to figure out the puzzles that are like deep in your psyche and deep in your heart. Because then you don't know. There is no playbook. There is no rules. There is no monetary score that you can keep track. Like, how do you beat depression? Do you get fucking, notifications from your bank? No, you don't get notifications from your fucking bank. Like, you don't know if it's possible or not. Like, it doesn't show up in ones and zeros. It's all, sometimes you go way backwards before you go forwards. And like, it's not tangible like this. But people think, if I just had money, then everything would be fine. Well, it's not. You can look at the research on happiness correlating to money and show, statistically speaking, it's not the case. So, but you can get lost in these kind of small, myopic games that are not your win. It's not the comprehensive picture. And yeah, like, this course may help you make a bunch of money because it may get you aligned, but that's the side effect. That's the after effect of getting your shit together so that you can handle the real important big challenges of life.
And sometimes people hate hearing this, so I'm going to lose any listeners, but sometimes we need less. Sometimes that's what it is. Sometimes when you start to find out what you actually value, you can start letting things go. And letting things go physically in your life is really a great starting place to let go of things emotionally that you're holding on to.
Well, that's the whole minimalist movement, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, you want to be such a fucking badass that you could have all of the things and not care about them at all.
Yeah,
Because
that's
then you
the move.
get the things and you don't care about
Yeah.
them and you're not attached. But until you get to that point, then removing the actual things might be helpful.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that's the appeal of this minimalist movement. It's just like we need less.
Yeah,
Let's
you
live with
have
less.
a bunch of clothes in your closet and it's a mess, and you're sitting around and you're kind of living in a messy, cluttered place. Like that's what's going on in your head, whether you want to realize it or not. Maybe you've gotten desensitized to it, but that emotional purging, or just like throw away all those old clothes, take them to Goodwill, do something with it, just get it out of your place. Like you'll feel lighter. You're like, wow, that has some merit. Maybe I should do that with my emotional self too.
Yeah, until you can get to the state of where like
it's a nice
like,
step.
you go to the jungle and the jungle's just chaos around you.
Yeah.
But you don't own the jungle, so you don't feel like you have to fix it.
I
You know,
feel
like
I
that's
own the jungle.
got fucking Tarzan. But it's like a different thing. Like you can just be unattached in the jungle because you just trust that nature has it. Like you could live in a mansion like you live in the jungle and just be like, look at the mansion, knowing that the next rainstorm could wash it all away. And not minding, but like, look, I got a great shelter over me today.
Yeah.
You know, and that's, I think, where we all aspire to be. But you're 100% right. You know, the priority we place on the things of our life, these sandcastles we build, knowing that the fucking tide is coming, you know, it's a major source of unhappiness.
Yeah, and that becomes your identity. You're in a slippery
Troubles!
spot,
Troubles!
Because the more you identify with it, the more likely it is to be ripped away from you.
It's all getting ripped away.
Yeah,
Time
at some point.
time is a fucking undefeated adversary. It wins 100% of the time.
Kill it.
In this
It's
physical
actually
reality.
better at than Conor McGregor.
Yeah,
And that's very.
Woo! I don't know.
Connor's going to be tweeting
Conor
at us
McGregor
now.
versus time. The first man to conquer immortality with a straight left hand. Well, I'm fucking excited to teach this thing again with you, man.
Yeah, man, it's going to be good. Super great.
It's going to be
part of
fun. And for everybody listening, check out the Pleasure Monkey podcast hosted by Connor. He's got a lot of fucking great thoughts and great guests. And
Have a good time on that thing, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else? Your socials and whatnot?
Yeah, man. Connor Wanders on Instagram. That's where I achieve most of my validation. It's Connor with an E and Wanders with an A. So CONNERWANDERS. And yeah, come find me. Give me some follow. Like my stuff. Do the thing. Check my Instagram stories. Shoot me in the DMs.
Beautiful, brother. Good to have you on, man.
Man, thanks so much.
Yeah. Peace.